let's make a granny square. So granny squares look complicated, but they're actually very easy. So there's a few things to remember. The center part starts with 4 clusters of 3 double crochets. To make the corners, each corner will have 3 double crochets and a chain 2 in between, only on the corners. There are other spaces in between the corners, but they only get 1 group of 3 double crochets. So it's really, really simple. Like I said, it looks much more complicated than it is. So what you're going to need is your yarn of choice. I am using a cotton yarn medium 4 weight, a 5mm, oh, you can't see it. It's a 5mm crochet hook. I'm sorry, I can't really see that, which is also the H, a small scissors, and a darning needle to weave in the ends. Now, a rule of thumb, you could use whatever kind of yarn you like. A personal preference, I like cotton. I don't like synthetic yarns, but that's just me. But when you buy your yarn, on the back of the label, you will see it'll say what size crochet hook to use. So this is recommending the 5mm, which is what we're using, which is also the US H8. If you're knitting, it'll have your knitting needle size too, but for now we're just doing the crochet. So we're at 5mm. Now, if you want a tighter, smaller granny square or whatever else project you're working on, you would go down a size. So you would use either a 4mm or a 4.5mm. If you want a bigger, looser stitches, then you would go up to be a 5.5 or a 6mm. But I am following the directions that is specified on the yarn. And this is yarn I got at Michael's. The other yarn I'm using is yarn scraps that I've had. I think they're actually from the Dollar Tree, which I got a long time ago. But anyway, let's get started. So what you're going to need to know is you're going to need to know how to make either a magic ring or a chain ring. You're going to need to know how to chain, and you're going to need know how to do a double crochet stitch and a slip stitch. That's basically it. So I'm going to show you a couple different things. I'm going to show you how to make an easy magic ring, but then I'm also going to show you how to make a chain ring, which I find to be a little easier. So you could take your yarn, and the yarn part that's coming out of your working yarn, and you have your tail on this side. So you're going to loop over the working yarn, and you're going to hold it like this. Now you're going to put your crochet hook, and let's just reposition our hands. So the hook is inside the loop. You're going to go in here and you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull it through, and then you're going to make like 1 chain. And actually, that is a magic ring. As you can see, it has this double loops, and when you're working in it, first you would chain 2 to start this, and then you would work inside and make sure you're working over your tail. So that's one way to do it. Now I'm going to do a chain one because as a demonstration, it's easier for me to hold on to the ring while I'm demonstrating. So I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain. So right there, slip stitch, which is you just yarn over, you pull through 1, and you pull through 2, and that's a slip stitch. So now you have this little hole to work into. So this is where we're going to start doing the center part of our granny square. Now it's also important when you're working in there, you have to work over the tail. So make sure you're working over the tail, because we got to pull it tight later to close that to that loop. So to start out for the granny square, you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and that's the beginning of your first cluster of 3 double crochets. Then you're going to do 2 double crochets going in. See, I'm working over that tail. So that's 1, and there's 2. And that is your first cluster of 3. Now you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and that's forming the corner. And then you're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. See, now I'm working over that tail. It's very important to keep that tail in there when you're working over it. Then you're going to chain 2. So right now we have 2 clusters, so we need 4. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Now if it's getting a little tight in your circle, just try to move those over so you still have room to work. I'm just going to move this over here so it doesn't fall on the floor. Okay, so now we have 3 clusters, so we need 1 more cluster. So into the hole, there's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and our 3rd double crochet. And then you want to join it. You're going to do chain 2. And then you're going to join it into that first loop here, right here. That top loop of your first, your chain 2 when you started. You're going to go in there and you're going to slip stitch closed. Now, if we were going to change colors, which I'm going to do in a bit, but first I'm going to show you how to do a single color so you don't have to change without changing colors. So if I was going to change colors, I would chain 1 and then I would cut the yarn and pull it through. But just to show you how to do a 1 color granny square, what we're going to do is we just slip stitch through that one. So we're going to slip stitch to the opening. So there's another slip stitch. And so now we have this, we're going to slip stitch into here. And what you do now is to start another row is you're going to go 1, chain 2, and that's the first of your first cluster of double crochets. That's 2, 3. Now we're on a corner, so we have to chain 2. 1, 2. So we're going to do another cluster of 3. 1. Whoops. There's my cotton yarn. That's why people don't like using cotton. I just like the hand feel of cotton better than synthetic. And that's 3. So now we have in each corner is going to have 2 clusters of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2. So now we don't chain to go to the next spot. We just go right into the spot, the next opening. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to chain 2. And we have our second cluster of 3 double crochets to form our corner. 1 more. There. So now we have 2 corners. Now we're going to go right into the next space. No chaining in between. Just go double crochet right in there. So that's 1, 2, 3. So we're in a corner space and we have to form another corner. So we're going to chain 2 in between those 3 double crochets, and then we do 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And now we're going to go right. We have the 1 more corner. So right now we have 3 corners. We're going to go into the next space and do our last corner. So we're going to double crochet. No chaining in between. Just go right in there. 1, 2, 3. And chain 2 because we're in our corner. And then 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now we have our 4 corners, and we just need to join this. So we just do a slip stitch again into that top loop right there. I'm gonna slip stitch. Now, if we were going to continue on doing a solid color, we would do what I did in the second row there, is I would slip stitch, and then start our 3 clusters, our 2 clusters of 3 chain 2 in each corner. But I'm going to show you how to change colors. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to cut. I'm going to pull that through. Okay, so now we're going to do another color. So you don't start there. You could start at any corner. And actually, it's better if you start at a different corner than you finish, because then it'll even out and balance out, if that makes any kind of sense. So let's work with the pink. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the yarn. I'm going to go into this corner here. And I'm going to just loop it like this. I'm going to have this loop here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to pull that loop in. Whoops. I pull that loop in. I'm going to chain 1 with both strands, and then I'm going to drop the tail, and then I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2, and that's going to be the start of our first cluster of 3 double crochets. Now I'm also going to work over this yarn. You don't have to do that, but it's easier at the end when you have to weave in all the yarn to just have it already hidden. So now that was our first double crochet. That count, those chain 2 counts as our first double crochet. So now we're going to do 1, 2. So that's, now we have our 3 double crochets. So we're in a corner. So we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1. Oops. 2. 3. Now, our next open space is not a corner, so we're not going to do 6. We're not going to do 2 clusters of 3. We're just going to do 1 cluster of 3. So no chaining in between. So we're going to go right into that middle space. Only on the corners do you do the 2 clusters of 3 with a chain in between, because we're forming the corners. But this is not a corner. So we're just going to go into this space, right into it, no chaining in between, and we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So now we have our middle section. Okay, it's just 3 double crochets. Now we're going to go right into our next corner. So we're going to double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and our 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now, again, that was our corner. So we did 6. We have 3 and 3, chain 2 in between. Now we're going to a middle space. So the middle space, we don't have any chains in there. We just go right in and we do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we're moving into a corner, so we go right in there and we do our 3 double crochets separated by 2 chains and 3 more double crochets. Chain 2, 3 more double crochets. Okay. And then we have our third corner. 3, chain 2, 3. Now we're going into a middle space here. So we're just going to do 3 double crochets. Now this yarn will just weave in the end and the back after we're done. Now we're going into our last corner. So we're going to do our 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2. Chain 2, 1, 2, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, And then we have our last middle space in this on this round. So we're only going to do 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now we got to join, so we're going to go into this top loop right here. We're going to slip stitch. And we're going to chain 1 and cut because I'm going to change colors for the last row. We're just going to pull that through. And see, we have our nice, it's looking very nice. I'm going to do one more row just to show you how to change colors. Let's do this one here. Let's see, let's get to the end of this. I pulled this out so it wouldn't fall onto the ground while I was working. If we could just find the end, it would all be good. It's here somewhere. I think it's here somewhere. I hope it's here somewhere. Oh, going in the wrong direction here. Okay, I'm going to find the end. Hold on. Okay, I found the end. Sorry about that. Hilarity ensues when I'm trying to film something. Okay, so again, to change colors, we're going to go over here. So we're going to put our hook into the open space. We're going to have our yarn this way. It's going to loop it. We're just going to pull that loop through. We're going to chain 1 with both strands. Then we're going to drop the tail and we're going to chain 2. Oops. That's our cotton yarn 2. And that's our first double crochet. Now I'm going to try to work over that tail. But if you don't, it's okay. You could weave it in later. So there's 2 and 3. We're going to chain 2 for our corner. And 3 more double crochets. 2, 3. Now on this row, we have 2 open spaces on this row. So it's not a corner. So each space here gets only 3 double crochets. It doesn't get this corner. That only goes on the corners. Only thing that happens on the corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2 to form the corners. The other spaces in between, in the middle, only get 3 double crochets. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to work over my tail here. So that's 1. 2, 3 into 1 space, and our other middle space, we're going to do the same thing, just 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we have our corner. So we're going to do our 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 2 chains, and then 3 double crochets. Okay, so now we have 2 corners. Now I am going to move ahead and just finish. So remember, on our spaces, our middle spaces, we only do the 3 double crochets. We only do the 3 double crochets, chain 2 on the corners. So I will meet you back at the end and show you how to weave in the ends. Okay, I'm almost finished. I'm about to go into my last center space, which is just 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to finish it here. I'm going to finish the granny square here. So I'm going to slip stitch right into that top loop there. Slip stitch, just pull it through, pull it through. I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to cut it and pull it through. Okay, so now we have our granny square. And as you can see, we did 3 double crochets in the center pieces, the center openings, and we did our corners, which is 3 double crochets, separated by a chain 2, and that's for every corner. As you can see, you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and the centers only have 1. Okay, so now let me show you how to weave in your ends. Now first we'll start with the center. Now because I did a chain ring and I worked over the tail, you see, you could pull it and it closes that hole that was there. So now I'm just going to work the yarn. I like to go just weave it in through that part. Go in a couple times. And then, oops, I almost got undone. Then I like to just go back. Let me just get this threaded and then I'll just go backwards. Kind of like you go back and you kind of lock it in. So we're just going to go back and weave that in, pull it, and we can cut that off right there. Okay, so now we have our other ones. Now this one, I wove in, I worked over it, so I could just cut that. This one I worked over, so I could just cut that one. And this one I did work over, but I think for this one I'm just going to weave it in just to be sure. So again, I go back through part I went over, and then I just like to go back one more time, make sure it's in there, and then I can cut that piece. And this one I did not work over, so I'm going to weave that in so we don't see that. So I like to weave it into the same color so you don't see it. So I'm just going to go there, and then I'm just going to go into this part here, and maybe over here. And then we'll just go back, kind of lock it into place. And then we can trim that, cut that off. And oops, we got to do this one. We didn't do this top one. Okay, so now we have most of those are done. So let's just do this top one. So I'm going to show you how to like get rid of that so you can't even see where you ended. So I like to just go back a couple loops here and then go back through there. Just kind of make it so it's not as obvious where it ended, so you can kind of see that that's pretty good. And then now we're going to go into the back and we're going to weave it in, same color. And again, I like to weave it in through this part. And then we'll just go back. And then we could cut that. And there you have it. Our granny square. It's almost the same size. Now, there's a whole thing about blocking. I don't have a block. But if you're going to sew these together, you kind of would just match all of the loops. But that's a tutorial for another day. So I hope you found this helpful. And until next time, happy crocheting.